Tonight on Punchline, amid the political shakeups that are going on, we are reflecting on the big picture, and that is Kenya and her people. Over the last 15 years or so, dreams of a new Kenya have come in all sorts of names, be it the Kenya we want or Vision 2030, the Big Four, and even BBI. Whereas these were all associated with different politicians, almost all of them have borne the authority of the coat of arms as the official policy of the government of the day. In present Kenya, as another political storm gathers clouds, we are asking, where is Kenya in all of this? Where are we heading to? Is there a singular Kenyan dream, or is it a shifting target? Are we radarless, clueless, and are the blind leading the blind? Well, tonight, we speak to the former founding Director General of Vision 2030, Mugo Kibati, from his home in Nairobi. Mugo is currently CEO at Telkom Kenya, and welcome, Mugo, for the very first time to Punchline. Now, you led Vision 2030, and at the time there was clear direction in terms of where the country was headed to. Based on this experience, you certainly have a unique view of the state of our nation. In your opinion, what is it and what worries you?
Good evening, Anne. It's a pleasure to join you this evening from my home under this very extraordinary times, frankly speaking. Let me start, before I respond to your question more directly, by just making it very clear that in your opening statement, you made reference to a lot of initiatives that have been commenced or spoken of over the last 15 years. But I think there is no question and there is clarity that the official national development plan of this country is Vision 2030. That is codified by a parliamentary sessional paper that was passed through Parliament in the year 2012, which is sessional paper number 10 of 2012 on Kenya Vision 2030. And indeed, since Vision 2030 was launched by the immediate former President Mugo Kibati and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in 2008, it has had 3 medium-term plans by design. It was designed to have 5-year plans, medium-term plans we call them, and we are currently on the 3rd medium-term plan, popularly known as MTP3, from which the big 4 pillars of President Kenyatta have been hewed. So President Kenyatta actually has been responsible for the 2nd and 3rd medium-term plans, whereas President Kibaki was responsible for the 1st medium-term plan that ran from 2008 to 2013. Thereafter, we had MTP2 from 2013 to 2017, and we are currently on MTP3 under President Kenyatta, which was launched in 2017, and from which the big 4 have been hewed. And so there's clarity, at least on that point. All right. Where are we today, as you ask? I think the jury is out, and I think Kenyans are best able to respond to that question. But since the launch of Vision 2030, some 12 years ago, the projects that were commenced then continue apace to date. Could some be moving faster? Of course. I, of course, have been out of the position of heading Vision 2030 for the last 7 years. So I speak today and as an observer just like you are. Right. But frankly speaking, whether it be the infrastructure projects, the roads projects, the rail projects, the energy projects that began under Vision 2030, I find that they continue apace today. And under the various pillars of Vision 2030, we had the economic pillar, we had the social pillar, we had the political pillar. Under the social pillar, I think it has been very topical over the last few years. The educational reforms currently ongoing, most of which emanated from a commission that was instituted in 2012 to look at the future of this country under the then new Constitution 2010 and Vision 2030. Those continue to be implemented today.
In your opinion, Mugo, is the Big 4 or a significant turnaround of the people's fortunes possible in President Kenyatta's term?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by a turnaround because there's just a couple of years left in this term. But I think the Big 4, if you think about it, if you think about the Big 4 and the crisis we have right now, without having anticipated the crisis, it covers three, if not four, of the most important areas one has to address in this crisis: healthcare, food security, and manufacturing. We have in the last few weeks found that we need to have much more local manufacturing when you talk about PPEs. And the big four, three of the big four areas actually directly address the most important issues in this crisis. So I'm not sure about a turnaround, but in terms of getting us out of this post-COVID period and beginning to prepare a post-COVID Kenya, I think the big four will have a big part to play.
They say that you should plan for the future whilst in the crisis. So do we need a new plan for Kenya aside from Vision 2030? Do we need to revise our targets downwards?
Much like, and I'll talk about Telkom Kenya, we don't need a new plan as businesses or as a country. We need to revise, definitely, the plans that we have. And let me actually, I may speak. Some businesses may require new plans, but for the country, Vision 2030 is already designed in 5-year phases. So I think as we look into the next medium-term plan, clearly the experience and the lessons of the COVID pandemic will play very much into preparing for MTP4. And some of the Big Four and MTP3 measures in the remaining couple of years will also have to be adjusted to address the experience and the lessons of the COVID-19 pandemic.
There are those with a much more if you like, negative view of what the country can expect in terms of economic growth. President Kenyatta also appears to be betting heavily on BBI. Is a legacy of what he calls a peace dividend greater than that of economic development?
I don't believe it's an either or. I don't think you can divide human life. We live a composite, holistic life. When we wake up in the morning and go to bed at night, we don't divide our lives and compartmentalize it. So there's nothing, our economic, our social aspects of our life are equally important, and we must address all of them. I don't have much to say about BBI or the politics of the country. As I said, I've been out of government for the last 7 years. I'm an observer just like you have been. I do hope, however, that the lesson and experience of this COVID pandemic will make our politics change. That our political leaders, but also the citizenry, in the way we respond to our political leaders, that we will be much more serious in the way we address important issues going forward. The political pillar of Vision 2030 had the objective of an issue-based, people-centered, result-oriented, and accountable society. We've strayed away quite a bit from that in the last few years, and I hope strongly that the experience of this crisis will be that we shall go back a lot more to that dream of the people-centered, issue-centered, people-centered, result-oriented, and accountable society.
Right. Now, you worked for the Kibaki administration. Is it fair to compare the Kibaki and Kenyatta administrations, as Kenyans often do, online? And can we learn from the Kibaki era, also bearing in mind that he too came out of a highly contested election and partnered with Raila Odinga in his last term?
I think that the citizenry of any nation have the right to compare any administration with any other administration. That's just the way we human beings are. Not just the Kibaki or the Kenyatta, but even the Moi and the first Kenyatta 1 administration. I think that's the citizen's right. And it's sometimes unfair because circumstances are very, very different across different regimes and different times. We really had the first fully implemented constitutional divorce system in the Kenyatta era. I don't think President Kibaki had to deal with that. However, in short answer to your question is I think it's the right of every citizen to make those contrasts, because we must learn from our history, both the negative aspects of our history as well as the positive aspects of our history on which to build on.
Bad politics could cost Kenya everything, and you've alluded to that. Admittedly, you are not a politician, but you've certainly worked with them. Are you concerned at all about the political climate and its impact on the economy and on stability?
I am no more concerned today than I was 3 months ago before the COVID-19 crisis. I don't think the COVID-19 crisis makes me more concerned about our politics. What the COVID-19 crisis makes me concerned about is Telkom Kenya, which is my remit on a day-to-day basis. And that is why, as I've indicated, at Telkom Kenya, we are very clear that the health and safety of our employees and customers now and into the future is paramount. We are looking at the changes in society, and we plan to adjust our business accordingly. We do expect a fully much more digital economy, and Telkom Kenya will be ready for that.
Right.
Within the context of the politics of this country, which I am hoping, as I have indicated earlier, will learn something from this crisis. Right.
There are also large disparities in our economy that is leaving many people behind. What are your concerns in this regard?
What the crisis highlights is some of the very concerns we've had all along. The very reason for the creation of Vision 2030 was to transform this country from a poor nation with a massive income and poverty gap to one in which we had prosperity for all and a broad middle class. That actually is only enhanced by this crisis, because this crisis lays bare the level of healthcare infrastructure improvements we need to undertake, the fragility of the economy in certain respects, especially the informal sector on which most of us depend. And I think those lessons are being taken in, and that we shall adapt to these lessons and begin to address these issues as we go forward.
At Telkom Kenya, you leverage technology and heavily market your products to young people. How are youth and technology part of Kenya's solution?
Well, I think for many years as a nation, we've spoken about the demographic dividend, which refers to the large percentage of our population that is the youth, and how we must leverage that positively. I think we have an opportunity now, because in a more digital economy, there's more socio-economic democracy, in my view. I think that the youth, as long as we make sure that we prepare them accordingly skill-wise, the youth have a much better chance in a digital economy to join the global economy. Right from their homes in Kenya, they can be serving clients and clients as far as California or Beijing. And we've spoken about this, but I think this crisis has only heightened that. So at Telkom Kenya, we intend to ensure that we are focused on the new digital economy. We have started already through this crisis. You may or may not know, but Telkom Kenya has already powered, we have offered free Wi-Fi to the International Hospital Infectious Disease Unit at Mbagathi, as well as free Wi-Fi at the Ministry of Health COVID Center. We've also partnered with several institutions, including the University of Nairobi, on our Soma and our Telkom bundles, because students now have to be trained electronically from their homes. We've also just launched Dial Daktari with our partners, and have also launched the powering of Afya Records, which actually is going to be a system across the counties that collects data, healthcare data, during this COVID-19 period. So Telkom Kenya has already begun to adjust and adapt to the new times. But we are pretty clear that there will be a new normal post-COVID, and we're going to be adapting and reframing ourselves towards that. And in that new normal, in that post-COVID Kenya, the youth will have a much more powerful voice and powered by a digitized economy.
Right. Finally, it is widely believed that this will be the decade for Africa. Kenya's position on the continent appears uncertain. With the president's in-tray full, what must be done now to recapture our standing among the community of nations and to create more opportunities for our people?
I'll be a little cheeky here and say, let's fully implement Vision 2030. Because one of Kenya's strengths, and that hasn't gone away, is our diversified economy. If you look at the oil prices and many commodity prices across the world, they have tanked significantly. And many African countries are single commodity-driven economies, as opposed to Kenya, which is a diversified economy. The one area that will be of big concern, obviously, will be our airline and tourism industry. I do think there are measures that can be taken to ensure that as we begin to emerge out of this COVID crisis, that we buttress our tourism and our airline industry to basically power and enhance our diversified economy. One thing is for sure, Telkom Kenya, as an actor in the digital space, will play a big part in the post-COVID Kenya, where as we move from the more face-to-face brick-and-mortar society to one which is much more low touch, low contact, and digitized.
All right. Mugo Kibati, the founding director general of Vision 2030, currently CEO of Telkom Kenya. Thanks for speaking to us and stay safe.
Thank you, Anne. You stay safe too.